They say the forest breathes. Not with the wind, but with the souls it swallows. In the quiet village of Kasoba, surrounded by red earth and the endless green of the Congo, there was one place no one dared to go, Nsitu Yamilimo, the forest of spirits. The elders said it was where the old gods went to sleep, and where restless souls went to whisper. By day, it looked harmless enough, shafts of sunlight breaking through the canopy, birds crying out in the distance, the scent of rain always hanging in the air. But as the sun dipped low, the air around its edges thickened. The crickets stopped singing. And if you listened closely, the trees would whisper your name, not all at once, but softly, from every direction. Everyone in Kasoba knew the rule: no one entered after sunset. No one, except Kato. Kato was 13, full of curiosity and mischief. He'd always wanted to see what the forest was hiding. If the forest really takes people, he once laughed, then why is it still hungry? His sister, Amina, older by 3 years, always scolded him. You joke too much, Kato. The forest doesn't play. It remembers. But that night, Kato didn't come home. The sun had fallen behind the mountains, and the night crept in with the smell of rain and thunder. Amina waited outside their small mud brick home, her heart pounding like the drums used during harvest festivals. She told herself he was just late, maybe at the river, maybe with the hunters. But when the elders gathered, their faces grave, she knew. The boy went to Nsitu, said old Mabe, the village storyteller. His voice was low, trembling. He was seen chasing a firefly near the edge, before the light swallowed him. Amina felt her chest tighten. Then we must find him, she said, already standing. Mabe shook his head. No one enters that place after dark. Not even for blood. But he's my brother, she cried. Her mother's hand clutched her wrist, trembling. Amina, please. You know what happens in there. Amina looked toward the forest. The trees seemed to sway even though the air was still. Somewhere, deep inside, she thought she heard laughter, light and distant, like Kato's. It couldn't be real, could it? That was when she made her choice. She took her father's lantern, slung a small knife across her waist, and walked toward the forest. The villagers called after her, their voices trembling in the dark, but she didn't stop. Her brother's laughter, real or imagined, pulled her in. At the edge of Nsitu Yamilimo, the air changed. It was colder, heavier, and it smelled like old rain and iron. The moment she stepped beneath the canopy, the world went quiet. Even her own footsteps felt swallowed. The light from the lantern trembled, and so did her hands. Kato, she whispered. Her voice sounded small. Kato, if this is a joke. Something moved. Not in front of her, but behind. She turned fast, raising the lantern, but there was nothing there. Only trees. Dozens of them. Hundreds. All standing tall and silent, their bark slick with dew that looked almost like sweat. Then came the whisper. Soft. Close. Her name. Amina. Her stomach dropped. Kato, she said again. Is that you? No answer. She walked deeper, heart hammering. The deeper she went, the louder the whispers became, not words anymore, just her name over and over, from everywhere and nowhere. The lantern flickered, and for a split second, she saw faces in the bark, faint, shifting, sorrowful. Then the light died. Darkness swallowed everything. Amina froze, clutching the useless lantern. Her breath came fast. She wanted to run, but something inside told her to stay still. And that's when she saw it, faint, blue light between the trees. It looked like a glowworm, or a spirit flame, floating gently in the dark. It moved slowly, like it was waiting for her to follow. And she did. The ground beneath her feet was soft, like walking on wet cloth. The glow ahead grew brighter, leading her deeper until she reached a clearing she had never seen before, a circle of stone ruins, covered in vines and symbols that glowed faintly under the moonlight. In the center of the clearing was something that made her breath catch. Her brother's slingshot. It was resting on a flat rock, clean as if someone had just placed it there. But there was no sign of Kato. She reached out to grab it, and that's when she heard the whisper again. Only this time, it wasn't her name. It was laughter. High-pitched. Familiar. Kato, she called, her voice breaking. Where are you? The laughter turned into words. I'm here, sister. Come and see. She turned toward the sound. A small shadow stood between two trees, just beyond the clearing, the outline of a boy. But something was wrong. The way he moved, the way his head tilted, it wasn't right. It was too smooth. Too still. Amina took a step back. You're not Kato, she whispered. The shadow tilted its head again. The voice came softer this time, broken and echoing like two people speaking at once. Then who am I? The forest exhaled. The trees seemed to bend toward her, their leaves hissing in unison. The light from the ruins dimmed, and she could feel something ancient watching her. Not with eyes but with memory. And somewhere, in that endless darkness, the whisper came again, not from outside, but from inside her mind. Welcome back, Amina. We've been waiting. Amina couldn't move. The forest had gone completely still, as if holding its breath. The voice inside her mind was no longer a whisper, it was a presence, deep and cold, wrapping itself around her thoughts. Welcome back, Amina. We've been waiting. Her pulse hammered in her ears. The lantern in her hand flickered weakly, fighting the dark. The figure that looked like her brother still stood between the trees, unmoving, its shadow stretching longer than it should. Kato, she said, her voice trembling. If that's really you, come closer. The figure smiled. Or maybe it only seemed to. Closer, it echoed, and began to glide toward her, not walking, sliding, silent, over the ground. Amina stumbled backward, clutching her knife. Stay back. The shadow stopped. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, it shattered, breaking into a cloud of dark smoke that swirled around her, whispering in dozens of voices at once. The air turned icy. She swung the knife wildly, but it passed through nothing. The smoke gathered behind her, and then... Enough, said a new voice. It wasn't loud, but it carried power, calm and final, like thunder far away. The smoke vanished. The whispers stopped. Amina turned. Standing a few feet away was a tall figure in a tattered black cloak. The lantern's light didn't touch his face, only the glint of two faint silver eyes beneath his hood. Around his neck hung charms made of bone and carved wood. Who are you? Amina demanded, her voice breaking. Where's my brother? The figure tilted his head slightly. If you shout in this forest, the dead will answer, he said softly. You do not want that. I don't care about the dead, she snapped. I want Kato. He regarded her in silence for a moment, then turned and began walking deeper into the forest. Then follow, he said. But quietly. Against every instinct, Amina did. The forest seemed to part for him. Where he stepped, the mist lifted. Fireflies drifted near, glowing with faint blue light. Amina followed, her knife still trembling in her hand. After what felt like hours, they came to a clearing unlike any other, a circle of massive stones carved with symbols she didn't recognize. At its center was a pool of still, black water that reflected no stars. This is where the living meet the lost, the cloaked man said. And I am the one who keeps them apart. Amina swallowed. You're the keeper. He nodded once. Names are nothing here, but yes. The keeper of shadows. The guardian between the worlds. She stared at the pool. Then tell me where my brother is. The keeper crouched beside the water. Look. She hesitated, then knelt and peered into the darkness. At first, she saw only her reflection. Then, slowly, another image appeared, her brother, Cato, sitting beneath a tree, his eyes closed as if dreaming. But around him coiled something vast, a serpent of shadow, its scales shimmering like wet stone. What is that? She whispered. The one who claimed him, said the keeper. Anzoka. The serpent of time. It feeds on promises broken and truths left unspoken. Amina's throat tightened. He didn't do anything wrong. He's just a boy. All souls are older than they seem, the keeper said. The forest remembers what even the blood forgets. She looked up sharply. Then help me. You guard this place, you can bring him back. The keeper's silver eyes flickered. Nothing returns freely. To release what the serpent holds, you must give it something of equal weight. Anything, Amina said without hesitation. Take anything. He shook his head. Anzoka does not hunger for gold or life. It devours truth. The one thing humans fear to offer. He leaned closer, his voice barely a breath. If you would face it, you must speak truth without lies, even the ones you tell yourself. Amina felt a chill crawl down her spine. I don't understand. You will, he said. But beware. The serpent listens. And once it hears your truth, it never forgets. He rose to his full height, and the air grew colder. The pool before them began to ripple, glowing faintly. The path to Anzoka is through memory, the keeper said. But you must go alone. She looked into the black water. The reflection of her face wavered, then shifted into her brother's. He looked frightened, calling her name silently. Amina's hand trembled. Will I find him there? The keeper's voice grew distant. If your heart is stronger than your fear. Before she could speak again, the ground beneath her gave way. She fell forward into the pool, the cold swallowing her whole. Darkness closed around her, thick and heavy. For a heartbeat, she couldn't breathe. Then whispers. 1,000 voices, murmuring names, stories, prayers. She saw flashes, women dancing around fires, warriors painted in ash, children laughing beside rivers that no longer existed. The forest's memories. The truth buried in the soil. And then, through it all, she saw him. Cato. He was standing in a place of stone and mist, his small hands clutching the tail of the great serpent. Amina, he cried. Don't come closer, it's not what it seems. The serpent turned its vast head, golden eyes glowing like suns. When it spoke, its voice was the sound of ages moving. Another who seeks the past. Another who thinks truth is gentle. Amina forced herself to stand, her breath shallow. I came for my brother. The serpent's laughter shook the air. Then give me your truth, child of men. Feed me, and perhaps I shall return what is mine. The keeper's voice echoed faintly, though she could no longer see him. Remember, Amina. Once you lie inside the forest, it remembers. The serpent's gaze pierced her, endless and knowing. Speak, or be forgotten. And as Amina opened her mouth, she felt the weight of every secret she had ever buried pressing against her tongue. Then she spoke and the forest listened. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of smoke and stone. Amina stood at the edge of the serpent's den, surrounded by swirling mist. The ground pulsed faintly beneath her bare feet, as if she were standing on the heart of the earth itself. Before her rose Anzoka, the serpent of time, vast, ancient, and terrible. Its scales shimmered like glass filled with trapped lightning, each one reflecting a different moment, a birth, a death, a promise, a betrayal. Cato stood a few steps away, eyes wide, trembling. His lips moved soundlessly. Amina's breath came fast. Let him go, she demanded. The serpent's voice slithered through the air, echoing in her skull rather than her ears. You walk into my heart and make demands, little mortal? You do not yet understand the price of what you seek. I don't care about your price, Amina said. He's my brother. Anzoka's tongue flickered, long as a whip. All who enter this forest belong to it. Your brother spoke my name. That was his invitation. She turned to Cato. You spoke to it? He nodded weakly. I just wanted to see if the stories were true. The serpent chuckled, a sound like stones grinding. They were true before your people learned to speak. But your kind forgets, always forgets. It coiled around them, its body thicker than tree trunks, scales scraping against the rock with a deep metallic hiss. Once, I was fed by kings. Now I am fed by silence, the silence of those who fear their own truth. Amina clenched her fists. Then I'll tell you mine. The serpent's golden eyes glowed brighter. You think your truth will hurt me? Child, truth burns the liar, not the listener. Still, it drew closer. Its head lowered until she could see her reflection in its enormous eye, small, frightened, trembling but unbroken. Speak, Anzoka said. Speak, and perhaps I shall let him live. Amina's throat felt dry. Her heart pounded against her ribs. The truth, what truth could she give? She took a deep breath. I've hated this village, she whispered. I've hated the way they tell stories but never act. The way they bow to the forest but never step inside it. I thought they were cowards. The serpent's tail twitched. The air shimmered, rippling with heat. Go on. And when Cato disappeared, she continued, voice shaking, I wasn't just afraid, I was angry. Angry that I'd have to be the brave one again. I didn't come here only for him. I came to prove I wasn't like them. The serpent hissed, the sound like laughter. Pride. The oldest truth. The first fire. Cato tried to step forward. Amina. Stay back, she cried. I'm not done. She looked up at the serpent. You said you feed on truth. Then take it all. I've lied to everyone, even to myself. I said I believed the old stories, but I didn't. I said I feared the forest, but I only feared being forgotten. Anzoka's body shimmered. The mist thickened around her, and the ground cracked open beneath the serpent's coils, revealing a pit of glowing memories, faces, voices, songs. Good, Anzoka said. But there is one more truth you hide. Amina froze. What do you mean? The serpent's golden eyes widened. You carry a secret older than your fear. One buried in your blood. Speak it, or be devoured. Amina felt her chest tighten. Something inside her stirred a memory she'd spent her whole life ignoring. When I was a child, she said slowly, I used to dream of voices. They told me I would return here. That I was not meant to live outside the forest. She swallowed hard. I thought it was just nightmares, but now I remember. The serpent leaned closer, hissing softly. Remember what? That my grandmother, Amina said, trembling, was one of the keepers. She left the forest to marry a man of the village and broke the oath that binds your kind. The air cracked with thunder. Anzoka recoiled, its coils thrashing violently. A keeper's blood walks among the forgotten. Amina stood tall now, her fear melting into fire. You wanted truth, now you have it. The serpent's body began to smoke, its scales blistering with light. You carry the memory of those who defied me. You are the lie I've hunted for centuries. Cato screamed, clutching his head as the ground quaked. Amina. What's happening? Amina stepped between her brother and the serpent, raising her arms. End this. Take me, but let him go. Anzoka's body coiled around her, the heat searing her skin. Its face hovered inches away, breath like burning wind. You would trade your life for his? Another lie. You seek to redeem your blood. Maybe, Amina said, her voice trembling but firm. But a lie told for love is stronger than any truth you can swallow. The serpent froze, and for the first time, it looked uncertain. Amina felt a rush of power surge through her veins, something ancient awakening. The air shimmered. The glowing pit beneath them flared like a sunrise. The serpent's voice broke into a roar. "What have you done?" "I remembered," she whispered. Light exploded from her chest, pure and blinding. The serpent screamed, twisting, its body fracturing into shards of shadow and memory that scattered into the air like dust. When the light faded, the cave was silent. The mist was gone. Cato lay beside her, breathing but alive. Amina fell to her knees, trembling. The air felt different, cleaner, lighter, but she knew it wasn't over. Somewhere deep in the forest, the keeper's voice echoed faintly. "You have broken the serpent's hunger, but every bargain leaves a mark." Amina looked down. Across her wrist, a faint pattern glowed, scales, faintly golden. Cato reached for her hand, eyes wide. "What happened to you?" She stared into the forest's depths, where the shadows were already moving again. "I told the truth," she whispered. "Now the forest knows my name." The first light of dawn never reached the forest floor. Not here. Not in Ansitu Yamilamo, where the sun feared to walk. Amina woke to the sound of her brother's breathing beside her, soft, steady, alive. The serpent was gone, its massive coils turned to trails of ash that shimmered faintly before fading into the mist. For a moment, she thought it was over. Then she looked at her wrist. The golden scales still glowed faintly beneath her skin, pulsing with the rhythm of a heartbeat that wasn't hers. The forest was whispering again, not her name this time, but something older, a song half remembered. Cato stirred. "Amina," he whispered. "Can we go home now?" She brushed his hair back, trying to smile. "Yes," she said. "We'll go home." But as she stood, the air shifted. The trees around them began to move, not swaying with the wind, but bending toward her, like watchers bowing before a queen they didn't know they had. And from between the roots, shadows began to rise, human-shaped, faint and flickering, like smoke given life. They didn't frighten her. They felt familiar. One of them stepped forward. A woman, her face serene and strong, her eyes filled with the weight of 1,000 stories. "You carry it," the woman said softly. "The memory." Amina's heart pounded. "Who are you?" The woman smiled sadly. "The first keeper. The one who bound Anzoka when the world was young. You are of my blood, child." The forest hummed with her words. Faces began to form in the shadows: warriors, healers, mothers, children. Generations of the forgotten, the erased, the silenced. "You broke the serpent's curse," the woman said. "And now the forest remembers what humanity forgot." "I don't understand," Amina said, clutching her glowing wrist. "What happens now?" The woman's voice became the wind itself. "The forest has no master. It remembers, it forgives, it begins again. But every memory needs a keeper." Cato stood beside his sister, gripping her hand. "You mean, she can't leave?" The woman looked at Amina. "She can. But if she does, the forest will sleep again, and the truth you freed will fade with her." Silence fell. The choice hung in the air like a blade. Amina looked at her brother, his small hands, his tear-streaked face. He was only a boy, too young to carry the weight of legends. She looked past him, through the trees, where she could see the faint line of dawn painting the horizon gold. The village was out there. Their mother. Their lives. But behind her stood centuries of forgotten voices, ancestors who had been silenced, their stories buried beneath fear and lies. If she left, they would vanish again. Amina took a slow breath. The decision was clear, and it hurt more than any wound. She knelt before Cato. You have to go back, she said softly. His eyes widened. No. Not without you. You will, she said, cupping his face. You'll tell them what happened. Tell them the forest isn't cursed, it's alive. Tell them to remember who we were before the fear. Tears welled in his eyes. I can't do it alone. She smiled a sad, tired smile. You won't be alone. The truth walks with you now. The shadows stirred. The woman's voice came again, gentle and final. The forest will open for him. But only once. Amina pressed her forehead to Cato's. Go, she whispered. Before it closes again. He hesitated, then turned, and began to walk toward the fading light between the trees. Each step he took made the forest part, roots pulling back, branches bowing away. Amina watched until he was gone. Then she turned to face the woman. What must I do? The woman's smile was both sorrow and pride. Listen. And Amina did. The forest's whispers grew louder, weaving together into words, into language, into song. The ash of the serpent lifted into the air, swirling around her in golden spirals. The glowing marks on her wrists spread across her body, shimmering like sunlight through water. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them, the forest was no longer dark. She could see everything. Every root, every memory, every forgotten name. She was no longer just Amina. She was the keeper reborn. Outside the forest, Cato stumbled into the light of morning. The villagers found him at the edge of the trees, clutching Amina's knife. His eyes were wide, his voice trembling as he told them everything: the serpent, the truth, the sacrifice. Some laughed in disbelief. Some wept. But that night, when the wind blew from the forest, every person in Casoba heard it, the whispers of their ancestors, singing in a language no one had spoken for centuries. And when children were born in the years that followed, they came into the world humming the same song. The elders called it a miracle. But the old storyteller, Mabe, only smiled. It's not a miracle, he said softly. It's remembering. Some say if you walk deep enough into Ensitu Yamilamo at dawn, you'll hear a woman's voice carried on the wind, calm, steady, and strong. They say she speaks the names of those who came before. They say the trees answer her. And if you listen long enough, you might hear your own name too.